Welcome everyone to 2025. Here we are on the 10th of January, and it certainly is another interesting day on planet Earth. It already feels very much like we've been going for months. There seems to be a lot happening. I know I haven't had much of a break. It's been a busy time for us. And as we move into this year, we're going to be really tested. Now, for everybody in our community, I was sharing at the end of last year that we were heading into 2025, which, if you add up those numbers, is a 9 year, and nines are all about endings and transformations as well. So collectively, we're going to see a lot of things bubbling to the surface, and we certainly see that. There's much happening, unfortunately, in California with fires. We're seeing little pockets around the world where there seems to be the world's gone mad, and people are fighting each other. But we have to remember that it is part of the process of endings and letting go for us to see the disruption and say, this is not how humanity wants to live their life. Also, collectively, many practitioners, naturopaths, allied health people are coming together and speaking about how this year is going to be a year of tremendous upheaval. And already collectively, they are seeing far more people coming in with really catastrophic illnesses, being diagnosed very quickly, and unfortunately leaving very quickly. The terms of, died suddenly is being woven into the consciousness of people. And let me tell you, that isn't a normal thing to happen. And so lots of those practitioners I mentioned are preparing for a year to be extremely busy, as it already has. And many of them have seen the patterns over the last 2 years. Now, I mention this because perhaps in your life, you're going to experience some sadness or some grief. And I want you to understand that sometimes there's a bigger picture that we don't see. Sometimes having an experience of someone near to us who has illness is in a way to awaken us to take care of our health and well-being. And many of us made choices a couple of, 4 years ago about which path we would take. The path of life and the path of anti-life. And even though we made those choices, we still are in a world where we participate with everybody. So it's very important at these times to not just worry about your own spiritual development, but look after your physical body, which is the manifestation of your soul. Look at your mental health. See where you're still being triggered by the outer world. Look at your emotional health. How resilient are you? How are you in your inner world when the outer world challenges you? And understanding whatever you're going to face this year, although it's devastating or what looks like something that brings you great sadness, in that devastation, in that grief, or in that sadness is also the gift. So I was sharing this with a friend today, whom we were talking about a mutual acquaintance that has had a lot of grief in the last year with family members dying, multiple family members dying. And we were looking at what was the benefit of that for this person. And I said, well, she heads up the collective in an organization that's global, and especially here in Australia. And she's going to meet very many people that'll be going through grief. It's hard to explain to somebody about grief and the levels of grief and how you move through it and transition through it if you haven't experienced yourself. Sure, you can read a book, you can get an understanding, but unless you've been through it, it's a bit hard to show somebody how to navigate their way through it and allow those feelings to move through you and move beyond it. What helps sometimes is if you have the bigger picture. And so I was reminded, my friend, about a book by Neil Donald Walsh called The Little Soul and the Sun. It's a children's parable, and I read it to when we used to go to Thailand with our retreats, our Path of the Soul retreats. And I would read this book as an understanding of how we are perfect souls already in the universe, in the multiverse. And we agreed, we sat around a table and we decided that in this next journey of life, that you wanted to experience yourself as something. And to do that, you have to be able to experience the polar opposite. So in the book Little Soul and the Sun, it talks about uh, how the little soul, the bright soul that it is, had to have the experience of forgiveness. And that's what it wanted to experience itself as. But in order to forgive, then it needed the experience of the opposite, which was something to forgive. So, sitting at the table, one of the other little souls agreed to come down and play that role so that little soul could experience itself as forgiveness. And so they talked about that, and this little soul who was going to come down and do the very thing for the other little soul to experience said, I want you, when I do that thing to you, to remember who I am. If you've not seen that book before or heard it, it only goes for 13 minutes. It's on YouTube. It's called, again, The Little Soul and the Sun, and it's perfect to experience, to understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying about grief and sadness. To understand grief, you need an experience to really know it in your heart and help to move people through it. Now, this is not meant to be the start to a down year at all, far from it, because collectively we are moving into higher frequencies. Certainly the Schumann resonance has been moving up. We've had massive solar storms, which we're currently in. So there's a massive amount of light coming from the great central sun at the moment. And we're starting to see the shadow aspects as coming up to clear, and we're moving through that. So one of the things with 225 is to, and the same with any year, is to look at what's happened last year and to move into a new year as something with something different. So as I mentioned in my previous video, at the end of last year, we went through getting our word, our soul word for 2025. If you missed out on that, you'll find it in one of the videos below from December, and I go through the process for you to discover certainly your word for this year. So my word for this year is Regenesis, which seems really strange because we are in that 9 year of letting go, but Regenesis means being born anew. So I have a look, not just personally how to be born anew, but how in different aspects of my life. So last year I started to collaborate. I was invited to collaborate with the Grigori Grabovoi Academy, which is based in Switzerland. It's a global group of teachers that just have planned to put together a program called Mastering the Present to Harmonize the Future. So this morning was the start of that, and it was an invitation to the students to meet the various teachers in various languages. And so it was a very early start for me. I was up at 4 this morning for a 5 a.m. call. And so during the year, I will be coming on a number of times in the middle of the night to run some classes and some live classes, and for it to be very interactive. The program is worked out for this year, and the same in E equals VS, which is our brand with Grigori Grabovoi's teachings here in Australia and also internationally, where I also teach. So we will have our plan for the year, and you can participate in that. You can participate through our New Earth Academy of Eternity, which is based on Grabavoy's teachings, but really helps you to anchor in and make everything very real and in everyday life. So there's lots of interaction. It's beautiful little intimate groups that we are able to really forge ahead, and not only that, develop ourselves, develop our consciousness, gain a deeper connection with our soul. And instead of it just being our soul and spirit and the creator or God as this structure or entity outside of us, you start to discover, they are actually aspects of yourself. And so during this year, very much on the same theme as the Grigori Grabavoy Academy, we're going to help to master reality. And so during the New Earth Academy of Eternity, we're going to, especially when we come back in on the 20th of January, we're going to really set the tone for this year. So I'm not going through your word, you can sort it out, but we're going to look at what your goal is for you this year. And I'm going to show you how to really formulate your goal in a way that your soul responds to you in acknowledgement that this goal is the correct goal. Because quite often people set their attention or their goals and they're very much a head process. So very left brain. And some people discover that, okay, why didn't my goal come about? Because it wasn't something that your soul was excited. And you do get feedback from your soul. And this is why I explain about setting the goal, how to be specific with it. But then we go into the concentration and what it requires, how you set up the platform for it. We always do practice in our New Earth Academy classes. So there'll be lots of time to practice and some feedback, but it's very much a point of, no, this is not hard work. It's about playing and being like the little soul in the sun, a joyful, playful soul, ready to experience something different and something new. So I'm really asking you this year to look at 2025 in the eyes of a child and have a look at what is it that you can do differently that is different to 2024. Because if you don't set your intention, you're not instructing the unified field, the field of creation, about what you're wanting to create. And what will happen is you'll drag some of the hopelessness or some of the patterns of 2024 into 2025. So it's really important for us to start to be very specific about setting our objectives and holding them for whatever you're wanting to create, whether it's physical or in relationships or financial, because we're all going through the same struggles in some way. But when you start to understand how reality is created, how you can harmonize the present, then it puts you in the driver's seat and puts the position of power back in you. So you're not feeling like you're in this spinning wheel of the world and it's hard to keep up the pace with everything that is being visually shown to you, and your consciousness being harnessed to look in this direction, look in that direction, instead of really focusing on how am I here today? What am I wanting to experience today? What is it that I'm going to share in the world today? What's the platform that I start today with? How do I work in the field and play in the field so that I am setting up dynamic structures? So that starts our start of the year, and each month we have a different theme that is working through the whole year. So you're welcome to join us. Jump on our website and register your participation for our program for the year. There's lots of wealth in being in a lovely community, sharing with like-minded people. So enough for me for now, and we leave 2024 well behind as we're already marching firmly into 2025 and holding in our hearts the love for ourselves, but not only that, for the love of humanity and how we wish to see the world, a world where everyone knows that there is enough for them, a world where there is enough food, enough housing, enough resources for you to live comfortably, enough people around to support and care for you. This is basically stepping into what we call the golden age. It mightn't feel like it at the moment, but you know what happens when a caterpillar goes into and creates a chrysalis? Over that time, they're developing in harmony within themselves. And it comes to a point in that day that it's time to break free. And the chrysalis starts to open, and the butterflies emerges slowly into the world, firstly spreading their wings and sunning themselves in the sun, stretching and discovering what it's like to now have wings from being a caterpillar. And so I ask you to spread your wings this year, come on a journey. If you're not joining us in the journey, I hope your journey will be joyful this year. And if you need a little support, then certainly jump on in and have a look at some of our events for the year where we lay the foundations for Grigori Grabovoy's teachings. Or if you'd like to jump into the global program at Grigori Grabovoy Academy, it's just starting. Everything is recorded, and you get to have lots of experiences with multiple teachers, no matter what language you speak, because when the teacher is explaining things, there is technology that at the same time is translated into your language, your native language. So here we are, start of January 2025. Look forward to bringing you lots more during the year. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.